Right now we're talking about the hottest one on the press, off the presses, the Detroit Tigers. And KG, like Willie B, who's also in the building today, you also have vantage points, vantage ground on the scene at Comerica Park for a lot of good Tigers baseball.
Long time.
You also saw it change right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing this Tigers renaissance back, man. It feels so flipping good.
No, it's amazing. And shout out to the boys yesterday. Definitely want to touch on that 5-1 victory. Cole Keith was a fucking animal yesterday. Like, he could not be stopped. 2 doubles, home run, like everything you could have asked for out of him. We will get to a certain said someone a little bit shortly. Don't you worry, Sam. But, shout out to the boys. And Kiter Montero, I got to admit, man, I came on the airwaves yesterday, and you know what? We're going to play a game. We're going to play a game called I Was Wrong. And hopefully Sam will join me in this very shortly. But I came on the airwaves yesterday, and I made the statement of, what do you expect the Tigers to do? Try out Diedrich Enns or Kiter Montero? And I got to admit, I fell under the same type of, thing that most fans have fallen under. And it's because Kiter Montero, while he can be very good at times, he can also be very mildly inconsistent. Now, yesterday was a very good outing for him. 6 innings pitched, 4 Ks. I mean, that's all you can really ask for in a start when you putting him out there. But just based on his history, and he's a career 4.3 ERA guy. So when you creep up into the 4 ERAs, it's like, yeah, he's good, but there's something there that's holding him back a little bit. And that's where I kind of have pause. That is why I wanted the Tigers to go out there and get maybe a low-end veteran starter at the trade deadline. But just considering what Sam said, what he pointed out, and I totally forgot about his playoff run last year. He did have a very good playoff run last year. That's a great point by you, Sam. And I can admit, I was maybe wrong in that. Maybe he can be the 5th starter, in a playoff situation, and you can send him out there and you don't really have to worry. I just don't want the Tigers to get in a situation again to where they're relying on the bullpen to make up that difference. So that's where my concern as a fan comes from. But if Kiter Montero can go out there and provide innings and outings like he did yesterday, then I have no problems at all. But I can admit I was wrong.
You know what, KG? You don't have to do that yet, because there's nothing wrong with still even being skeptical about Kiter Montero as of right now. Your sin, which is absolute heresy, was putting him in the same sentence as Diedrich Enns. That was where
and you're right.
That's it. That's all. But I'm not asking everybody to all of a sudden have the utmost faith in Kiter Montero. I'm just giving you a pathway to where he could be successful this season, where he could actually play a role.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be Skubal, doesn't have to be Mize, doesn't have to be Olsen, but he will pitch in the playoffs.
Entire Ryan wondering why Diedrich Enns catching all of these strays.
Well, because
his fellow Chippewa.
I will always remember that game.
McKinstry's a dog.
I'll always remember that game, but I'll also always remember that next one.
Yeah. It was the very next game.
I'll always remember that game.
Then the next one.
The very next one.
I think James Wood hit another home run.
Right.
No, it's only one game. Diedrich Enns did his job.
That never happened.
He wasn't supposed to be out there anyway.
That's facts. That's facts.
I'll say 151. 999 Super Chat. The Tigers, for the playoffs, could have a rotation of Skubal, Mize, Olsen, Flaherty, and Montero. That is a strong freaking lineup to deal with for any team in both the NL and the AL, no doubt. Is that the rotation for you guys? Like that lineup?
Yeah, I mean,
that's your 1 through 5.
And another thing you see consistently when you look at playoff rotations, even of World Series teams, is that you see 2 or 3 pitchers taking the bulk of the starts. Like, for example, let's just say, and I'm not saying that, I'm not guaranteeing this or anything, but the Tigers get to the ALDS and they sweep a team. Then you get a little bit of rest. You only have to use Skubal, Mize, hopefully Skubal, Mize, and Olsen in that playoff series. Hopefully the other NLDS goes 5, and then in game 1 of the ALCS, you can start Skubal again. Rotations shrink during playoff time. And
True.
And right now, I'm very confident in Skubal, Mize, and Olsen as long as Olsen stays healthy. Flaherty, he's been a little too much bad jack this season. But at the same time, if he gets hot, he can look like a Cy Young pitcher.
Streaky as hell.
But you look at last year's playoffs, for example, he had a couple of good outings, but he also had 3 really bad ones. And he actually started the deciding game of the World Series, and his team and Aaron Judge badly misplaying a ball in the outfield bailed him out.
Yeah, and with Flaherty in particular, remember, that's the Tiger that I've been the most questionable about all season. I have walked very, very, very like softly because he's the one that I do believe is your definite ceiling and floor raiser for the Tigers.
I agree.
If this guy is going, I do believe that you give yourselves the best opportunity in the playoffs as the Tigers to not have to overextend a guy like a Tarek Skubal. I like the fact that the Tigers have a lot that they can play with right now with their pitchers, and you have to have Jack Flaherty going. That's the only reason why we can even sit here and talk about what we believe about who Montero can be. Because if Flaherty's not going, then it doesn't really matter. The ceiling of Montero is not going to make up the difference that you're losing with Flaherty not being right. So, for me, I definitely want to see him be less of the concern, be a little bit more consistent. But I do believe when you're talking about in the playoffs, I want to start monitoring the teams that we believe the Tigers might be matched up against versus how well Flaherty might have performed against them, because sometimes matchups are everything. Sometimes they are. And I do believe that when you're looking at the way the AL is shaping up, the Houston Astros are a formidable team, but they're not a team that scares me as it relates to the matchups for the Tigers against them. I still believe in what the arms would be. I still believe in the overall balance of hitting that the Detroit Tigers have. And it's not just this situation anymore where we're talking about this team not putting up runs necessary to support the pitchers. Instead, we're seeing 5.5 runs per game over the last 20, well over 4.5 runs a game on the year for this Tigers offense. And the bats, they look consistent. And let me read this Randall Smalls one, or you got something to piggyback on that?
No, I'm just glad you brought up the matchups, because that's the element that we don't talk about, is the AJ Hinch element of this all. We know if Kiter Montero's out there, he's being put in the best situation possible, most times. So I do agree it is a matchup-based game, and the better the matchup, the better, outing you can possibly get out of a Kiter Montero. But no, I totally agree.
Yeah, and that's you, Randall Smalls. Thank you guys for the super chats. I'm telling you guys, the support you guys send us, it means the world, and it means the most to us. He says, Randall Smalls, I think this is a team of destiny. I get wanting to add, but who sits? This is a chemistry thing. The Rogers, Sweeneys, Malloy, and Joneses have all been clutch in big moments. And I understand that to a degree, but we've also seen across the other sports leagues, including with our own Tigers, how special of a run was it last season to end it?
Very
special. Number one team in all of baseball for the last 40 games of the season. They're still the number one team in baseball, 40 plus whatever they've played this year. That's a whole lot of freaking games. But they still ran out of steam. They ran out of depth in the playoffs. That matters, and that's where it's like we're realizing with all of our teams taking this next step up that there just seems to be a whole lot more needed, or even a little bit more needed than what we love about our teams to be able to win the big one.
It is funny because Rando Smalls actually brings up a good point. Even though I will never forgive the Jake Rogers fanboys who spent more time victory lapping me than celebrating Tiger playoff wins, who will
leave Ray Rogers alone,
who will literally kneel at his feet and completely discount the fact that his batting average for his career is under 200. But to be fair, he did have some big playoff hits. But even when you mentioned Trey Sweeney, look at how important Trey Sweeney was last year when he got traded to the Tigers and then got brought up. He's not been very good this year, but even in that 10th inning game, that 10-inning game against Cleveland, he was the hero. Justin Henry Malloy was insanely good in the playoffs last year. He had a batting average of over 500. And then Jahmai Jones, we all know what he was in June. Guys just step up and play above themselves. But that doesn't mean that this is like a ragtag team either, because they also got stars. They got Riley Green, they got Gleyber Torres, Javi starting the All-Star game. Spencer Torkelson has about an 830 OPS. It's a good mix of kind of little engines that could and budding stars.
But it's what gives the Tigers the opportunity to stave off a lot of the individual slumps or downs or not up to pars that we've seen. They're able to go out there and get contributions across this entire lineup, and then on days where they have to have the Riley Green games, which we saw a whole lot more of last year. They had to rely on those last year. This year, we've seen the Riley Green games. We've seen the Javi games. We've seen the Torque games. There's a whole lot more people adding their names to that list.
Cole Keith
in
yesterday.
addition to, that's what I was going to say, in addition to some of the role players. They might not be as consistent, but they're having their games as well, where they're able to go out there and they're able to be a part of putting up the 2 to 4 or 5 runs necessary to get home a win behind the dominant pitching that the Tigers have put on display here. And that's where this team, you talk about team of destiny, I don't think Randall Smalls is too far off, but that also doesn't make me that comfortable to the point that I'm willing for them to not do anything at the deadline.
Like I said, I don't like Team of Destiny that moniker, and hey, I'm actually agreeing with a stick on something, but me for very different reasons.
Flannel.
And this is a battle that I think I will continue to fight. And I'm not saying necessarily all of you guys or you guys in here. I still think that this team gets this rap that it's ragtag. And I don't agree, and I've never agreed. If you want to say that last year was a little bit ragtag at times, fine, but
you can admit that the roster isn't complete. That's the biggest
fine.
thing about this Tigers team.
That's fine.
Both internal improvement and what they did to bring in like a Gleyber Torres and a Canley.
And we all thought that they can be good, but 24 games over 500, nobody saw that
They got
coming.
16 wins at the All-Star break.
Yeah, like
That's
nobody
insane.
saw this coming. Nobody.
That's insane. And you're right. It's right to call out the fact that it's not ragtag, because I believe it highlights exactly how good a job all of these people are doing. The development staff, the coaching staff, the GM, and the owner, to let them do whatever they're doing. Yes, obviously we wish he would just say, hey, here's your budget. Go out there and go ham. So if you feel like there's a player you need to cash out on and you might need to sweeten the deal, go out there and do that. Sometimes I do wish he would just CTC. I do, like Tom Gores. I feel like if Tom Gores was the owner right now,
man, what?
He's trying to compete with the LAs. Like, he would be out there like, what? But the fact that you can call out just how solid of a team this is. Hey, we found somebody who can operate within the limits that we know Chris Ilitch is going to have on this team, and they're doing it at an elite level, man. That's where I'm starting to say a little bit of the Team of Destiny, but I believe you crown those after you see it. Like, I would have never called the 2004 Pistons in the moment. Yes, I brought it back to Pistons people.
Yeah, that's fine.
Team of Destiny. But after you see how it all went down, you could definitely say they were a Team of Destiny. The Tigers have to punch their ticket. We've seen our Lions be the supposed Team of Destiny, and it fell just short. Now, all of a sudden, we should be taking these situations and continuing to apply fan pressure, fan-wise, to our teams to continue to do the most to get that ring. We deserve, especially Tigers fans.
Absolutely.
I want you to get that ring, Randall Smalls.
Hey, Randall Smalls, I'm iffy on whether I want him to celebrate a ring, but
Chill on Rando, man.